Bear down, Chicago Bears. I hope everybody's been having a good day. I've been having a horrible few days because my computer has just been a nightmare. But we're going to go with it no matter what. If you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe button, bell to be notified on the way in. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. But I can't, by the way, if anybody has any idea of what to do with a computer where the USB ports continue to disconnect every 20 seconds or so, like clockwork, then let me know. And by the way, if your answer is to go into the USB suspend settings, already been there, done that. If it's turn off, go into power management and allow the computer to direct that, I've already done everything that's online to be done. I've already done. There's something that is wrong here. Once I reinstalled Windows, new operating system, and it's got to be Windows 11, because if you use it under any other context, or if you use it in safe mode, doesn't happen. There's no problems there with USB enabled. So weird sort of scenario. Anyway, finally back now. The Bears absolutely annihilated the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday. I think everybody saw this and everybody was super excited about what was going on. Stat wise, we came in with a really good line here, except there was one piece that really didn't crush, and that was Caleb Williams, who went 6 of 13 for 75 yards, no touchdowns, got sacked one time, had a rating of 64.6. Now, I would consider that that's a problem and a concern, except that what I saw on the field certainly didn't resonate with a quarterback who was going 6 of 13. And I saw at least 3 easy drops that really shouldn't have been there. And then I saw one of those passes was an out of bounds play to Roma Dunze, who's still kind of learning the ropes on positioning, I suppose, because he makes the catch in the back of the end zone, does the big star thing, and ends up having his feet out of bounds, something that will get learned over time. But there were mistakes made. However, those mistakes did not cause problems. And we remember that as a rusher, Caleb Williams had one big run, which led to a touchdown for himself. And by the way, this was on one of those rollouts that just looked, I got to say, really, really good. Really, really good. So the Bears had 209 total yards passing. They had 90 yards on the ground. None of those are exciting numbers, but the final score ends up being 27-3 because the defense absolutely stepped up big time, and we had a lot of play from the defense. Reddy Stewart with 6 tackles, Amin Agbenamigma with 6 tackles, Carl Jones Jr. 6, Greg Stroman had 5, Elijah Hicks 5. A lot of names that you don't see out there a lot because most of the starters were getting a little bit of rest. And as you go down this list, you're going to see some familiar faces. The any kind of starters kind of came in at the beginning of the game, didn't really stay in for any length of time. So that allowed that allowed the substitutes to get a little bit more time. And by the way, Chicago fumble recovery for the man. And I think all of us are kind of hoping he makes the team. But Keith Randolph, a defensive tackle, had himself a fumble recovery. So that was a pretty good overall thing. And as far as quarterback hits go, let's talk about quarterback hits. Amin Agbenamigma has one. Kyler Gordon has a sack and a quarterback hit. Daniel Hardy has 1 sack and 2 hits. Josh Blackwell had a quarterback hit. Micah Baskerville with a quarterback hit. So there's a lot of pressure being applied. And look, this is not the Cincinnati team that we would see on the field. This is Logan Woodside and Rocky Lombardi. This is not Joe Burrow. So we can't make too much of it. However, we can look at our offense versus their defense and get an idea here that even with a bad outing, the Chicago Bears looked pretty strong. Tyson Bagent in particular, 7 of 8, 87 yards and 2 touchdowns. He made it look really, really easy, by the way. And I think that we're looking at one of those situations in which Tyson Bagent really starting to come along, and we're starting to see some zip on his throws. Unfortunately, it's not going to matter too much as long as Caleb Williams is healthy, because Caleb Williams, despite 6 of 13 and 75 yards, still looks the part. He still looks the part. It is his job to lose. And anybody saying different is not paying attention to the product on the field, or they don't like people who paint their nails. There's no other way to put that. Now, Khalil Herbert, 5 carries, 31 yards, looking like a stud one more time. Another big game. So he is clearly the number 2 guy at this point. I don't think it's even a question. Roma Dunze with an end around for 16 yards. Velus Jones just not doing much. Like, he's really, it is time to discuss that Velus Jones' time with the Bears. Look, all I'm going to say is if Velus Jones Jr. makes this roster, then we have to be asking the question, what does Velus Jones Jr. have on Ryan Poles? Because there's no reason for him to still be on this roster. He's just, it's good to see him trying new positions. It's good. We know that he's got talent. It's great. But that talent does not show up on the field, and we can't have that. That's not how this works. So we'll see how this plays out. But I just got to say that I get a bad feeling. Velus Jones got to be gone. Now the other piece to that is, well, what about the rest of them? Well, Ian Wheeler had 2 carries for 4 yards, and Travis Homer had 4 carries for 3 yards. So nobody beyond Khalil Herbert really set the world on fire from a rushing perspective. Now, maybe that's because it's a decent defense that we're playing in Cincinnati. And I mean, that would be fair enough, but I would have some concerns there. Now, of course, primarily Roschon Johnson. We didn't see DeAndre Swift, except, we had we had some good receptions and stuff like that. But I mean, it should be noted that you would expect a little bit more, right? You would expect a little bit more. So we'll see how this. We got one more preseason game against the Chiefs. And here's the thing: you should see some starters. I mean, I would think so, that you would see a little bit of starters for the Kansas City game. And the Chicago Bears, I think, really want to continue to show and look. The best thing, I don't know, because the coaches are going to talk. They're going to decide who's going to play. I think the best thing at this point is to get Caleb Williams in there again for another quarter, or at least a quarter, hopefully a half. That would be protocol, to get some more experience, and hope that Kansas City puts in their ones on the defense so that he can see a different sort of rush, and he can see a different sort of obstacle being put up in front of him than what he's been seeing so far. And look, we should at least acknowledge that Kansas City's got a really good defense and been playing very well for a while now. So I would hope that we get that kind of move, and let's see what happens. However, there's more to it than just this. There's a few other things. The Haason Reddick story continues. Now, I don't know that Haason Reddick is going to come here, because there's more news coming out of the defensive backfield that is going to make this almost a moot point. However, there are a lot of people starting to talk about it. It looks obvious that the Bears are in the best position. And by the way, if you saw the report that Matthew Judon chose the Atlanta Falcons over the Chicago Bears, it was because there was a similar offer between the two. And the guy made his choice, and he wanted to play in a warm climate. So, and I don't know what the logic is behind why he would choose the Atlanta Falcons instead of the Chicago Bears. I'm assuming it's because he wanted to play in the South. I'm assuming that there's a reason that doesn't involve the Chicago Bears, just that he's a Falcons fan or something like that. But Haason Reddick still sitting out, and we're waiting to see what's going on with this. Now, Bleacher Report, scouting department, believes that the Chicago Bears are going to be the team that he lands on. It says while the Jets rebuffed Reddick's trade request, that could be a tactic to try to maintain or salvage leverage in contractor trade negotiations. GM Ryan Poles should at least call Joe Douglas to see if he is willing to budge, since the Bears could use someone to hold down the edge opposite Montez Sweat. Also, with a projected $38 million cap space available in the offseason per over the cap, the Bears have enough funds now to give Reddick the contract extension he's been looking for. The Bears are on the opposite situation of New York. While they have expectations with Caleb Williams, they look to be a team well poised for the future. The Jets, of course, are going to have to start building and doing something. So we'll see whether or not this manifests itself. But the reason that I don't think that you should be looking for this is because it has been confirmed that the Bears are having discussions now with Yannick Ngakoue. Now, I would prefer to see Hassan Reddick come in over Yannick Ngakoue, but again, this guy's had 8.5 sacks for every season until last season. He came into a bad situation that didn't improve until Montez Sweat came in. And, I think it's paramount that we get somebody to help. Now, if you were to look at, if you were to take the time and look at Austin Booker or DeMarcus Walker, you might be tempted to say, let's just ride with what we've got. However, that's not enough depth at the defensive end position. Say what you want about any one of these guys. And you know what? Austin Booker might be the guy of the future, but he's still young. It's going to be interesting to see how he would last over 17 games. And, we'll see what's coming. However, I don't know how this plays out. I get a sense here that we'll probably see Yannick Ngakoue signed in the next couple of days or today. It's probably going to be today. But here's what Yannick Ngakoue said. Okay. He said that he's healing up from the ankle injury and that he is ready to push. And I think, again, Yannick Ngakoue is probably a better option than some of these other guys that are out there as free agents. If you can't get Hassan Reddick, he's the best available option. So that's what I think is going to end up happening. I think we're going to end up with Yannick Ngakoue. And by the way, I think he's going to end up being a lot better than what you want to give credit for. So let's talk studs and duds. Kyler Gordon, Spider-Man himself, was an absolute star on Saturday. He had 4 tackles, including 2 tackles for losses, 1 sack, and a quarterback hit. And he's thrived since moving to the nickel cornerback last year, and he got to showcase his playmaking abilities in one of the best secondaries. And if he stays healthy for this entire season, I think we're going to be looking at him for a long time. Now, again, one of the other pieces and one of the reasons that Yannick Ngakoue may not show up in the event that the Bears decide not to, then Daniel Hardy. Daniel Hardy continues to impress. Hardy has strung together back-to-back impressive outings where he showcased his ability to get after the quarterback. After a 2.5 sack effort last week, he had 3 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 2 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. He also had a tackle on special teams. So this guy has worked his way into this 53-man roster. No matter what anybody says, it looks like Daniel Hardy is definitely going to have his time with the Chicago Bears. And by the way, that might be the guy that we're looking for. Don't forget, Byron Cowart is still out here. We've got a lot of, when you start to break it apart, we're not incredibly deep as a roster, but these guys are playing with passion right now. And it would be interesting to see them mess anything up. So again, I think that's Yannick Ngakoue in the event that anybody comes in. But if not, Daniel Hardy has been stepping up big time. Now, let's talk Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams was one of the studs. But let's really kind of dig in. He was 6 of 13, 75 yards, didn't really do a great job. The offense sputtered. Wasn't really it wasn't really clicking on all cylinders. He overthrew Keenan Allen. I think they did 3 and out first time. The line was struggling to keep pressure off Williams. However, I think they were giving him enough time, and I never felt like he was in duress, in real duress. Um, uh, uh, Not because of protection, but because of both his playmaking ability and the protection. He didn't turn the ball over, so he did have to go. He did roll out quite a bit. We did see a lot of, we saw a lot of movement out of him. And again, I would say this: there were three catches that should have just absolutely been made. And if that's the case, you're 9 of 13, and you look like a stud, and you probably have over 100 yards passing in that short period of time. So otherwise, I think that Caleb Williams also had that nice little scramble, continued looking downfield until the lane was just open for a touchdown. So I think that we probably were looking at a really good, a really good outing overall from Caleb Williams, despite the fact that we didn't see that perfection. Okay. What happened was he got pressed, he got pressured, and he responded and came out after again after some just BS, just after some BS. He came out strong and looked really, really good. So I think that, I think we're going to see just some continuation of him improving very rapidly. And by the way, his ceiling is now looking very, very, very high. So as Williams thrived, so did Roma Dunze. He had a 45-yard catch down the left sideline where he showcased his tracking ability to haul it in for the big game. But he did have that catch back at the end of the end zone where he had his feet out of bounds. Um, those are the kind of things where, that turns you into, it was at an 18-yard play. So you're looking at, instead of 6 and 13 for 75 yards, you're looking at 7 of 13 for 91 yards and a touchdown. And we're looking at this to be just so much better. And then, I think that had we seen that, we'd be having a different story about Caleb Williams. So, let's chalk this up to some rookie mistakes that, again, if you're working those mistakes out right now, you don't have to worry about it later on. Also, Tyson Bagent looked like he belonged in the NFL. And look, I don't know how you feel about him, but I got to say this, that he's been a pleasant surprise. Now, I was on the Tyson Bagent bandwagon last year when he went 2-2. I could have sat Justin Fields for the season and just rode with Tyson Bagent. And I don't think I would have had a problem with that. I was critical of Justin Fields. The reason that I was not critical of Justin Fields at the end of the season was because I thought he would give us the best option to win in 2024. Didn't work out that way. So we move on. And here we are. Justin Fields, yeah, not crushing it in Pittsburgh, despite what some people might be telling you. You see it on the field, and you know that he's not exactly crushing it. Now, his favorite receiver, Tyson Bagent, Dante Pettis moving up big time. I mean, this guy's making a case for him having a revival of sorts. I mean, he's kind of underachieved his entire career. You know what I mean? Tyson Bagent putting some zip on the ball, getting it to Dante Pettis, who is going out there and looking like he really wants that piece. So he clocks in Tyson Bagent and Dante Pettis, who's competing for one of the final roster spots. And he looked fantastic. He caught all three passes thrown his way for 53 yards and was on the receiving end of two Tyson Bagent touchdowns. So he also is a special teams guy, which is kind of important. So I think maybe if we're looking at it, how deep does the roster go? I mean, I guess your one is going to be DJ Moore. Your two is going to be Keelan Allen. Your three is going to be Roma Dunze if you're ranking at this point. Your four is going to be Tyler Scott. And then who's your number five? And at this point, I think Dante Pettis is probably making his case that he's that guy. Also, having a stud performance was Amen Agbenamigma. He had 6 tackles, 1 quarterback hit, had one of the takeaways. Now, that was covered by Keith Randolph, but the fumble was caused by Agbenamigma. So, and that was really good. And he had an interception on a nickel blitz when Josh Blackwell forced quarterback Logan Woodside to heave a pass that floated up in the air. So, another big game for Amen. So, and also Josh Blackwell. Josh Blackwell had a good game as well. He was the one that shined on special teams as well. So, Yeah, it was really good. Now, the people who didn't perform very well, and guys, you know who these people are. Like, you don't even have to try anymore. Velus Jones Jr. He had 6 carries for 13 yards. It does not make any sense at this point. And look, he could make again. I told you, he knows where the body. If Velus Jones Jr. makes this roster, then where is the body buried, Ryan Poles? Where is the body buried? Because there's no reason for Velus Jones Jr. to continue to be on this team. He fumbles. He lets it look. He hasn't even had a good preseason, while these other guys have looked like studs out here. Velus Jones, even at a new, it's not even about the new position. It's about the kick return fumbles and everything else. He's got to go. Now, also, Nate Davis. He started at right guard, and he allowed the only sack. And by the way, and by the way, by the goddamn way, do you know who had the sack? Chris Jenkins. How many times over the last couple of months when we were talking about the draft and we were coming up with our mock drafts, how many times did we have Chris Jenkins from Michigan coming to the Bears just to kind of fill that space in? And who does he allow a sack from? A rookie. That's just, guys, Davis got to get his stuff together. Otherwise, this is going to be this is wasted money at this point. You know, this is just wasted money. Goddamn, I can't be anything but disgruntled with this guy at this point. So, but let's talk about some good news. Kiran Emagaji has been cleared, and he is back in practice, or he's in practice, I should say. And we're going to see, will he get a rotation on Saturday for the final preseason game? That's going to be the question now that we're going to have to ask. Do we see Kiran get a little bit of time just so you can kind of feel what's going on? You know what I mean? Like do we see something positive happen from him? So I don't know the case yet. I can't speculate, but hopefully we're going to see a nice opportunity. By the way, the game is going to be August 22nd, and it's going to be 7:20 p.m. So that's what's that, Thursday? Yeah, it's gonna be Thursday. So Thursday, we're gonna see the Bears and the Chiefs on a Thursday night football preseason game. And then the first game is gonna be September 8th at noon on Fox. So we'll see, we'll see what it looks like, and hopefully we'll see some PT from Quran. And if we do, that'll be very, very cool. And then in closing, in horrible, horrible news, Simone Biles shows up at the game to support her husband, Jonathan Owens, who actually comes in, has a decent game, and a lot of people are giving her grief because she's wearing a Green Bay Packers outfit. And, here's the thing. It's the Green Bay Packers outfit, but there's not a bunch of Green Bay Packers on it. It's just her husband. She got her husband on the picture. So I don't think this is a big deal, but it's Chicago. So people are looking at this like, oh my God, how dare you? And she's checked out. She's absolutely checked. She doesn't care. She didn't care at all. She's just absolutely checked out of the whole thing. And yeah, so she's on Sunday, she's posting pictures like, oh my God, I'm so cute. And Bears fans are like, ew, raggedy ass. What are you doing? You know what I mean? So, but Jonathan Owens has a good game. And hey, he's got a great wife. He's got a gold medal winning spouse. And I'm glad that, and by the way, I assure you after this, that she's probably going to, I say I assure you and probably in the same sentence. Get your shit together, please. I assure you she is going to have a Jonathan Owens in Bears gear jacket that she's going to wear to games. She's not going to continue to wear Green Bay Packers stuff. And certainly not intentional. It was not intentional, by the way. So while everybody's giving grief to her, I think we should probably lay off because it was just her husband. That's it. It was her husband on the jacket. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thursday is going to be game time. Tomorrow I'm gonna give a prediction. My prediction, by the way, for the last game was going to be a lot. I'm going to tell you this. I think my opinion was that the Bengals would score a lot more than they scored, and I said that the Bears would put up 34, and they did 27. But I gave a lot more credit to the Bengals. And guys, I think it's time to recognize the Bears defense standard. It's preseason, so not this is not official, but that Bears defense looking really good right now. So thank you so much for tuning in. Bear down, fuck Green Bay, and fuck that jacket too, by the way. And we will see you guys very, very soon. Take care.